Care to chat? Hello and welcome again to the Northern Ireland Social Care Council's popular podcast, Care to Chat. I'm Wendy Austin, and it's been my pleasure to host these podcasts, now in their fourth series, hearing the stories of social workers, of social care practitioners, and those who are their service users, and to hear of the work itself from domiciliary care to probation, early years to end of life, and the constant improvements and adjustments as change is implemented in health and social care here. It's been a real education for me, and I hope an interesting listen and a useful tool for you. Well, we've a special episode of Care to Chat for you today. In each series, we've made sure to have conversations with people who use social care or social work services, their families and carers. So this time, we're hearing from a father and his two daughters about how social care enabled him and his late wife to remain in their home when she needed care. So we've a real love story to tell you about today. With me are 91-year-old dad, James Gordon, Jim, his two daughters, Deena and Nimick, who's Policy and Campaign Manager with the Centre for Independent Living, and Janeen Stevenson, who's also Jim's personal assistant. And with us as well, crucially, Hayley Todd, Homecare Manager with the Belfast Health and Social Care Trust, whose team members cared for Jim's wife, Edna. So we're going to find out how, as a family, they navigated the complexities of finding the right care options to ensure Jim and Edna's wish to stay together was possible, and hopefully at the same time address that conversation that's hard to initiate with ageing parents about what their wishes would be if they needed care, rather than leaving it to the last minute, often when there's a crisis, as many of us know. So it's great to have all of you with us here today. Thank you very much indeed for coming along. Jim, tell us about Edna. How many years were you married?
60. Well, I've tried to live the 22nd of July, but we would have been 65 years married.
Goodness.
So it was, indeed, a long time. So it is, you know.
And you had a great time together with the kind of difficulties that many families have to deal with.
Yes, well, as I say, Edna couldn't keep on working because of Deena, you know, she had to look after Deena, because Deena crawled about for I don't know how long, but after she came out of hospital, all she could do was move about the house, you know, and before she ever was able to get into crutches and things like that. So Edna couldn't work, so she couldn't. And I just don't remember Edna getting any money from the government. That, you know, because of that, she may have, and I forgot about it because I have no memory. But as I say, I worked night and day in that animal feed mill, and you couldn't have worked on a worse. Otherwise, it was Unilever, and they were a good company, so they looked after their workers well. But the place itself was a terrible place to work.
Yeah, and Deena, Edna was at home, as you say, looking after Deena, who had been born with various difficulties, so she needed to be there to look after her all the time.
Indeed, yes, indeed.
Yeah. Well, that makes things a bit tight, doesn't it?
Well, as I told you, we moved from Laganeel. I stayed with my mother and father for a wee while, for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then we went to Laganeel. And you know where Laganeel is, don't you?
I do indeed.
Some people don't know where Laganeel is, but we lived in one of them houses, and then her whole full family took themselves off to Australia, and we took over their house. £500 a piece for it. We would have paid, didn't get paid at all. But and then, as I told you, I moved down to the housing executive house, and I knew that girl, and she got me the house in the housing executive house, and we're living now in Craigie. So 65 years or 55 years are there. So we are. So
Edna got to the point where she needed some care and support, and
she did
you and she wanted to stay together and stay in your home.
Yes. The only thing was the housing executive they couldn't put a chairlift in for her to go up the stairs, and they then thought they'd be able to put a hoist in and go up and up it would have went up into the back room, and they discovered they couldn't do that either because of the huge water tank was up there. So that was it. We had to decide then what we were going to do, and I decided, well, we'll just come downstairs and then Edna got a hospital bed. And then she got the hoist thing to lift them out, which the girls used all 4 times a day. That was at 9 o'clock in the morning, 12:30, 4:30, and then about 8:30 roughly. That's
but
a number
she was
of
still
times.
there with you, and that was very much what you wanted.
And the reason that was that I brought the chair. I brought the other bed beside her. Was during the night she might have needed change, and I was just every bit as good at changing her as the girls were. Of course, I learned all them different things, what to do with her, So as I say, that's how we ended up with sleeping together, not together, but one side and one the other,
Well, that's the best you could do at the time, isn't it?
Yeah. That's right up the very last time, the last, right up there. She passed away because she was still not at bed, and then she did die in the hospital, so she did, but she was, to say, she was in that bed all the time. So she was, the only odd times that you just took her out of the bed, didn't you? And I took her out some at weekends, some.
Yes,
times.
well, we were able to get her out into the car and take her out at the
a mobile
weekend,
car.
or the car staff would come and hoist her into a reclining chair. So she was able to get out of the bed with help. She couldn't have done it herself.
Yeah. And that's Janeen that we're hearing from there, and Deena here as well. When you realised that your mum and dad wanted to stay in their home and that she just couldn't manage without care, how did you go about dealing with that at that stage? Because it can sometimes be very difficult, and I don't know which one of you wants to come in there, but Deena, what about that? I mean,
yeah, well, Mum went off her feet quite gradually. She was in a lot of pain whenever she was walking, and then just got to the stage where she just couldn't stand up at all. She couldn't weight bear. And, she had been using a mobility scooter for a while. So, again, even using the mobility scooter became impossible for her, and she had to use a wheelchair, and others had to push her. Everybody knew Mum and Dad wanted to be together, that they were inseparable. So, and Mum had said years earlier, don't be putting me in a nursing home. I don't want to go into a nursing home. And when you Daddy, he would be lost without her beside him, So it was a case of, right, the house, we can't make it accessible, in terms of all the adaptations that you normally think of. But because their priority was staying together in their community, in their own home, that's whenever the beds were moved downstairs. Mm-hmm. And, Mum couldn't even use it. Although we did have a downstairs bathroom, Mum's chair couldn't get to it, wheelchair couldn't get to it. So, Mum had the wee commode, but actually between them. It was like their bedside cabinet. She had that and a wee curtain that separated them off from the rest of the living room. And she had bed baths, and she was incredibly well cared for 24/7 by Daddy, with Janeen and my niece and that around. And we had a lot of security knowing that the care staff were going in 4 times a day, and she adored them. She just saw each of them as a new friend coming through the door, and loved to hear about what was going on in their lives, how their children were doing and all of that sort of thing. So they became like extended family in many ways,
I mean, Hayley, you got to meet Edna, and your social care staff supported her, and Jim, as Deena says, 4 visits a day. How did that all work?
It worked really well. As Deena said, in the bedroom where they had downstairs, Edna's bed was at one side, a commode in the middle, and then Jim's was at the right-hand side. And it was still easy enough with a hoist to get it in and get Edna out of bed. You still had plenty of room, and then the girls hoisted her into the chair. But now, as we were talking last week, the heat in the house, Edna loved her heat, so the heat was on. So even in the summer months, the house was roasting. Because I actually cared for Edna as well. I went into the house and cared for her sometimes whenever we had no staff, and I went in, and the heat, it was unbelievable. But she loved her heat. And it was just a love story between the two of them. The two of them didn't want separated at all. You know, as things became more difficult, as she got sicker and sicker, we still tried to make sure Jim could be in the room beside her and stay, and what she did to the very end.
I mean, you're home care manager with the Belfast Trust. Is that a part of the job, or is that sort of going above and beyond to make sure that you can keep a couple like that together?
I would say it's part of the job, but it's probably is going above and beyond. But it's nice to see. I always want people to stay in their home and have the care that they need, especially people that are palliative or anybody at all. It's nice to see them be in their home to the very end.
And your staff, I mean, Deena was saying that Edna thought they were all, that regard them all as kind of part of the family. That's a real kind of privilege, isn't it?
Yeah, she did. She asked them questions about their life, and even when I went in, she would ask me what we were doing. And there was some days that Janeen took her out to get ice cream. The staff would have hoisted her out and she would have got ice cream, and she loved getting out them wee days out. Or even with Janeen or Natalie, her granddaughter, they would have loved getting wee days out together.
Now, Janeen, you were involved in caring before you supported your parents. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Whenever I left school, I went on to college and did a caring services course. That involved working with children, people with disabilities and the elderly. So for a few years after that, I worked in nursing homes, care in the community, different care jobs. And then I got an opportunity to work with children. I was running a creche and a gym for a number of years. It closed, and my sister Deena had repeatedly said, you know, you're wasting your time, you know, your talent is caring for people, you know, especially people with like a learning disability so I had taken on a job as a PA with the lady and her son. She was able to keep her son at home with her too, because she had PA staff coming in. Other than that, he probably would have been put into residential. So I had worked with her for a number of years, and as my mum's health was deteriorating, and obviously my mum and dad were getting older, I cut back on work, so I was able to take on more days and dedicate those days to mum and dad for hospital appointments, shopping, you know, helping with housework, ironing, just running a second house, basically, because my mum and dad just couldn't do it themselves. So I was fortunate enough then to be getting paid to look after my parents, which you would do anyway, but bills still need to be paid at my home too. So I was able to continue working and also have the privilege of being with my mum and dad. I also have other service users, so I was able to build up my hours as a PA, and I was doing full-time work.
It's a term that I wasn't familiar with, a personal assistant, and I'm sure there are many other people who haven't really heard of it. But it's a thing.
It is. It's more support work, but because you're more personal with the people, you don't really see it as a job. So whenever you're referred to it as a PA, it's a bit more personal. They are my employers at the end of the day. So although I'm their support worker, they're my employers. So the PA just makes it sound a bit better, which it basically is, because I'm their personal assistant. I work with a lady and she calls me her taxi driver, her personal shopper. You know, I get called a number of things other than her PA, because that's exactly what I do in the job, you know. But it just really the biggest thing for me was being able to dedicate time to my mum and dad around the work. But I have been very, very fortunate with the families that I have worked for, and still with some of them, that because they're living with people with a disability, they understand what other families are going through. So with PA work, you can sort of fit your working hours around each family, because each family understand that you can't be there at a certain time because the family you've just leaving may have had some sort of crisis that you have to stay and sort out before you move on. And I've been very fortunate with my families. They're very, very understanding of that. So it's a lovely, lovely job.
Oh,
it's very, very rewarding.
Yeah. Deena, what do you think are the important things that makes social care work for families? I mean, these people who are involved in social care with families they're right in the mix, really, aren't they? You know, they can't just kind of come and go and not have any kind of rapport or relationship with you. But that needs to be work. It needs to work properly, doesn't it?
It does. As somebody who needs support and care myself, and obviously for many years, there are people who can support you and make you feel more disabled, and there are people who can support you and make you feel like you can do anything. Those are enablers. And whenever you are in a state of support, you can spot those people really quickly. And quite often they don't even see it in themselves, which is interesting. And sometimes other people need to point out, like I was pointing out to Janeen, you're wasted. She was in retail before she took on the work with mum and dad, but before that, she was in other sorts of work. So yeah, I quite often see people and I think, my goodness, they'd be a great PA or great in some sort of care work, and I make sure that they're directed in those directions, whether full-time or part-time. But in terms of, you want someone who's genuine, who's honest, because they're coming into your home, they're coming into your life. You're not expecting them to be your closest friends, but you do want it to be a two-way relationship, because especially when someone's coming in from a care provider, they know a fair bit about you by the time they come to your front door. You know absolutely nothing about them, and yet you're going to be letting them do things, in terms of your personal care. They're complete strangers. So people who are able to build up a rapport and who are genuinely caring and look out for the little things, take heed of the little things, like, making sure, for example, the curtain is closed whenever you're going to be hoisting someone or moving them, like with mummy onto the commode. That was always the one thing I watched. With new people, are they going to close the curtain properly? Because you could see right out onto the street. So people who understood that the little things meant a lot. And I think also, if you're going into that line of care, you have to be prepared to give a little bit of yourself away. You need to be able to give a wee bit of your heart into that person's life. And it's not always going to be easy, but the way we saw that being reflected in the care staff that came in to mum and dad was whenever they were leaving, say to move to another post or whatever, my mum liked to give them a wee gift of something or other, and she was a painter, so she would have given them one of her paintings quite often. And I remember being there one of the days whenever she did this, and the girl, she was covered in tattoos, this girl, she was just lovely. And she turned round and she was in floods of tears. She says, can't believe your mummy's just done that, But it's relationships. It's all about relationships at the end of the day. You'll certainly not go into care work to make lots of money, as Janeen will tell you. You'll maybe be able to, well, I don't even know if you could afford a mortgage these days, but you'll not make loads of money in it. But the rewards come in so many other ways.
I mean, it's a great example, this, Hayley, of social care working well for families. But it's quite a high bar in some ways for the social care practitioners, isn't it? You know, that what Deena has just been talking about there, that's quite a lot. I know there's a great kind of fulfilment reward.
There is. There's a lot of reward for myself as a manager to be able to give somebody a package. It's so rewarding that you get to give somebody the time to be in their home. I know it's hard, first of all, when a package starts out, but people get used to it, they accept, but it's very rewarding. And especially for the staff, especially if a service user and a staff member gets on, it's really rewarding. And I used to love going into Edna and Jim, so I did. Like, even after Edna passed away, I would have been in and saw Jim a few times and said, "How are you?" And he's like, "I'm all right." And the house felt weird without Edna there, without her presence. It felt really strange, so it did.
But it worked for you, didn't it? The care and the ability, Jim, to keep her there.
The carers are very, very good. Now, they had care staff that worked during the night, but when you called them, they just didn't. I don't know whether they'd be with someone else or not. Sometimes I was very lucky because I used to, Edna that shouted at me at maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning that the bed was wet or she'd wet it. I sometimes tried to move her myself, but if I couldn't move her, I phoned Johnny, and she came out of her bed at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and she that meant that I didn't have to get the carers, you know. At the end of it, the last time, a year or two, maybe Johnny McConnell, we had. She took this thing on her, what do you call it, the water coming out of her leg. And I meant the nurse had to come out all the time, you know, even they were very good too, because Janeen would have fixed her up too, wouldn't you?
I would have bandaged her legs. My mum would wait till one of the district nurses had left and then phoned me and says, "She hasn't done it right, can you come over and do this again?"
But Jim, from your point of view, I mean, the fact that, I suppose you were lucky in many ways in that Janeen was in the role she was in. Deena knows her way around the system, and you had these fantastic care workers coming in, and that meant that you were both able to have things the way you wanted and to be at home.
Oh yes, the care workers are very, very good. So they were very good. I couldn't complain about them at all. The only one, I couldn't remember their names.
Need bigger writing on the badges.
If they told me their names and they went out the door, that was it. The name went out the door. But Edna knew them all. And she had a chat with a whole lot of them and talked about maybe their home, their living, you know, so she did. But the care workers were great. So they were.
Well, there are people maybe listening to this, Deena, who are at the start of trying to put in place care for a family member at kind of whatever stage. I mean, you, as I've just said, you kind of know your way around the system, which is a big advantage, because if you've never had anything to do with it before, it is very complex and it's hard to even know where to start. What would you say? I mean, is this a conversation that we should be having with our parents when they're in their 60s, 70s?
Yeah, I think so. You know, as you say, well, because I'm disabled and I was used to finding ways around, quite unconventional ways at times, around barriers and being creative with that. It was kind of second nature to me and to us as a family. The difficulty is for families and for the individuals, like, who wants to have that conversation? It's a really, really tough conversation to have. And yet, if you have it and you put in a plan in place, it can make life in older age so much better. You can get much closer to the life that you want to live when you plan ahead. I suppose working for the Centre for Independent Living, I would say, if any family want to have that type of conversation, we have a team of advisors. They're all over the country who are ready to have those conversations with families or individuals who are just wanting to have some idea of what's going on. How do you organise this? What's involved? You know, so it's not just me. We have these brilliant advisors who can have those conversations with folks. But I think, first of all, recognising that they're tough conversations to have, but there's a reward at the end of it when you start to put things in place so that everybody knows, right, at this stage we're going to do this, and this stage we're going to do this. It gives people a lot of security, because what I have witnessed over the years is where people haven't planned, and it's been crisis management. And everybody has been really miserable because nobody's got what they wanted. We knew Mum didn't want to go into a nursing home. We knew Mum and Dad wanted to stay together. And so therefore, we did have, even knowing the system, even being around disability, we still had to have some very tough conversations about what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. But the overall goal was that Mum and Dad got to stay together, and they did. Mummy was admitted to hospital at lunchtime and died by tea time, and we were all round her in the room when she did pass. But it kind of reflects the life that she had, and the fact that her and Daddy, right, were sleeping in the same room right next to each other right up until their last day, when, you know, Mummy was, 86? Daddy was 90, so that's a queer way to go.
Sure is. Janeen, what would you say to people? I mean, accept help. You know, speak to somebody maybe who's already been in that situation. You know, ask for that sort of assistance, because sometimes you're in a bit of a fog, aren't you?
Yeah. What I think sometimes people don't understand also is if they're entitled to care staff coming in, they also can have PA staff come in also, because some people think because they've got one set of care coming in, they're not going to be able to get, like myself, a PA coming in also. With the care staff coming in, that gave me a peace of mind that there was somebody there first thing in the morning, although I knew I was going to be there at other parts of the day. But that also gave me peace of mind. And I think it's important for families to sort of understand what's there for them, because the information isn't always there, and they have to go looking for it, and it's not easily got. So it's not. A lot of people don't know about direct payments. Even social workers. Some social workers don't know what direct payments are. So I think we need it more highlighted. Things like this, what we're doing today.
Do you find that's the case, Hayley, that people just really don't know how things work? I mean, and understandably, if you haven't needed to be part of the system before, it's no wonder that they don't know.
Yeah, no, not a lot of people do know. Like, even when my granny was ill, we didn't know what way to go. Even though I'm in the care profession, we didn't know what way to organise and try and get a care package in for her, because it was different, because it was a family member trying to get that all sorted. So I think there does need to be more talk about direct payments, about care packages, how to go about getting them. A lot more information needs to be out there for people.
And of course, there's a shortage of staff as well, isn't there? I mean, if somebody's heard this story today, the difference that your team and that Janeen, as a personal assistant, have been able to make to Jim and Edna, I mean, if they're the right kind of person, how do they go about taking up that role? Well, to become a carer in the Belfast Trust, you just need to apply on the Belfast Trust website. There was a recruitment a wee while ago, and we're going to be doing interviews quite soon. But hopefully we'll do a rolling ad for people, because we do need, there's like a lot of staff are getting older now, they're retiring, medical retirement maybe. So we do need more and more staff, and especially to get more service users, we need the staff. Absolutely. And you really appreciated the girls when they came, Jim?
Oh, yes, indeed. The only thing is I couldn't remember her name, but that was nothing. No, I knew them all, and they all knew me. I looked after them too. Like, I got wee presents now and again, but they weren't supposed to get. But and they used to say it to me, "You're not supposed to give them." I said, "Look, I've got to give them something."
Well, I'm sure they liked that.
Oh, indeed.
And you had a bit of crack with them?
Oh, aye, indeed. Told them my jokes.
I hope they laughed.
Indeed. But someone, I'll be quite honest with you, someone really enjoyed coming to our house because but between Edna and myself and them, we did have a good talk like together. It wasn't just come in, change Edna and cheerio attitude, you know. Well, they were very, very good, so they were very good, but no, I couldn't complain at all. Wasn't your usual second one? Well, had we two sets of
There has been some different
usual
service
last
providers.
Ones? And there's ones before you, is that right? Was there, Johnny?
The Belfast Trust, one of the agencies had pulled out, and the Belfast Trust had stepped in, and they were with Mummy for the last number of years. And the other thing I think is worth mentioning too, that as Daddy alluded to earlier, Mummy, had significant ill health, multiple health problems, and the district nurses as well were in and out. There was a lot of support from district nursing, especially, towards the end. They were absolutely wonderful, and your staff would have picked up if Mummy wasn't quite so well. Early in the morning, if Daddy hadn't alerted Janeen, they would have picked up and they would have notified the nurse. Listen, you need to come out and have a wee look at Edna. So it was a complete team that just really provided a lot of support.
Well, look, it's been a real pleasure and privilege to hear from all of you about how this worked and how you were able to keep Jim and Edna together. And thank you very much for sharing your family story, Jim, Deena, Janeen. And Hayley, thank you for being a part of it as well, literally and here today. If you want to know more about social care, how to access it or become involved in it, go to the Northern Ireland Social Care Council website. There's lots of information there. And you'll also find all our previous podcasts there, you'll be glad to know. And it's also where the new ones will drop as well. You get them wherever you get your podcasts as well. Please do subscribe, doesn't cost you anything. Rate and review them, and of course tell all your friends, family and colleagues. And thank you very much for listening.